I've got just the thing to warm you up on those cool fall and cold winter nights. A hearty, good old-fashioned beef stew. Now let's add 3 to 4 tablespoons of vegetable oil to a large, heavy-bottom pot over medium-high heat. When the oil is ready, we're going to add our 3 pounds of chuck roast in 1.5 to 2 inch chunks or pieces, cubed. We're going to do this in batches, and we're going to brown it. So we're going to turn it in the middle, make sure we get it browned on all sides, and then we're going to season with salt and pepper as we go. Now that the meat's finished and set aside, we're going to add 2 yellow onions cut up into 1-inch chunks and saute for about 5 minutes until it's soft. Now let's reduce the heat to low, and then we're going to add 1/4 cup of flour, and we're going to stir constantly until that's combined for about a minute or 2. Now we're going to add 5 cloves of minced garlic. We're going to stir that in and let this cook for another minute or so as well. So now we're going to add a cup of red wine so you can deglaze the pan here. Scrape up all those little burnt bits from the meat and the onions. Let that come up to a bit of a simmer. We're going to add 3 cups of beef broth. Get this all stirred in here. And then we're going to add our seasonings here. I've got 1 bay leaf, I've got 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme, and I've got a full tablespoon of fresh rosemary. And now we're going to add our beef back with the accumulated juices. We're going to let this come back up to a simmer. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on it. And we're going to let this cook for an hour. I'm going to turn the heat down to low. While that's cooking, we'll finish our prepping. We're going to take 4 carrots and cut them up into about 1-inch pieces. And then we're also going to take 3 celery stalks and cut them up into 1-inch pieces. And we're going to set all that aside. Next, let's take 3 russet potatoes, and we're going to cut those up, and then we're going to set those aside. When the hour's up, let's go ahead and add our carrots, celery, and potatoes, and then we're going to adjust the seasoning to taste. So we'll add a little more salt and pepper as needed. And then we're going to cover that, and we're going to let that cook for another 30 minutes. So we're looking good at this point, so we're going to put the lid back on, and we're going to turn the heat off. We're just going to let this sit and rest for about 15 minutes or so before serving. All right, so this had a little bit of time to rest, so we're going to garnish this with just some fresh chopped thyme and parsley. All right, so now that we're all dished up, I'm going to garnish this with a little bit more fresh parsley. And we like to serve this. This is just a ciabatta roll. I'd use whatever your bread preference is, whatever rustic, French bread, sourdough, whatever your preference is. Classic old-fashioned beef stew. Bon appetit. Enjoy.